Hey guys, today we're going to be taking a look at a few different videos with a general theme. It's going to be kind of a purpose to this video. Now, the first video we're going to be looking at is one of Big Donald, Donald J. Trump, the 47th President of the United States. Now, a couple of things about Trump. I've supported Trump since 2015, and back then, even in Ireland, if you were to even mention the name Trump, people would act like rabid animals. People were just, it was like they were just insane. There was no degree of reasonability when it came to talking about Trump. Um, People were just batshit crazy. Nowadays, he's a lot more liked. He's a lot more socially acceptable. He's a lot more accepted in the Overton window. Um, but there are a few questions about Trump in this administration so far. The number one thing is the situation in Gaza. Now, when Trump was running for president, he spoke repeatedly about the war in Russia and Ukraine and how he didn't want people dying. There's 1,000 people dying per week, and the war has to stop, and the war would have never started if he was in charge. Now, I don't blame Trump for not being able to stop the war so far. It's a difficult situation. He didn't cause the war. The war didn't start under his watch. It started under Biden's watch. I don't think it would have started under his watch. If it did start under his watch, I think he would have been able to resolve it pretty quickly, like he did with the Iran situation. Now, that's still early days. That might escalate again further, so we can't speak too soon on that. But the thing is, so he's speaking about these issues of war and he's running on this no war campaign. And then he's just completely ignoring the situation in Gaza, where we're seeing a high tech, high level military, one of the most powerful militaries in the world, funded by the most powerful empire that's ever existed, the United States, to the tune of billions of dollars per year. Um, and they're going up against essentially unarmed civilians, women, children, people without food, people without water. People are being starved to death, people are being killed, civilians are being killed. We just saw a Catholic church was blown up by accident. It's always an accident with the Israelis, but this isn't a video on the Israelis. But so seeing Trump speak so little about that, not condemn that, not really say anything about that, not only that, then jump in support of Israel in a way where it seems like Israel almost undermined his authority by going ahead with this mission that they had planned years in advance, by the looks of things, essentially undermining him, and then he just goes along with it and acts as their lapdog. So really disappointing on that level. It seems that he's heavily controlled by Israel, like all U.S. presidents are. It seems. The other thing is the Epstein files again, and this is connected to Israel. Hate to say it, but it's connected to Israel. People are demanding the Epstein files now. We were promised declassification of all these different files, and now we're being told, oh, why are you still talking about this Epstein guy? He's a creep. Let's move on. No, that's not going to fly with us. We're not just going to move on from a massive pedophile ring, blackmail operation. Obviously, to anyone who knows anything about it, intelligence program. I mean, we want answers, and he's not delivering on those two areas. Now, having said that, Big Donald is doing a lot of good, and he's the best we're going to get at the moment. And if we had a Trump in Europe, I think we'd be doing a hell of a lot better. So we're going to listen to what he has to say, and then we're going to look at a few videos that kind of highlight his point.
Hey, but on immigration, you better get your act together, or you're not going to have Europe anymore. You got to get your act together. And we, as you know, last month we had nobody entering our country. Nobody. Shut it down.
I'm going to stop it right there. That's one thing you have to give Trump massive credit to. Under Biden, something like 10 million illegal immigrants flowed across the border. That's just an estimated number as well. Like how can you possibly know the amount? But mass amounts of immigration, just uncontrolled, unfettered, unvetted, mass levels of immigration. Since Trump has took office, that's been cut down to pretty much zero overnight. So that just shows you that if you have an effective leader, something that can be such a big issue, literally a society destroying issue, it can be resolved with the snap of a finger, and he's done that. So we have to give him credit there. You know, a lot of people hate on Trump. I don't know if you're pro Trump, anti Trump, but credit where credit's due. He got that done.
And we took out a lot of bad people that got there with Biden. Biden was a total stiff. And what he allowed to happen, but you're allowing it to happen to your countries. And you got to stop this horrible invasion that's happening to Europe, many countries in Europe. Some people, some leaders have not let it happen. And they're not getting the proper credit they should. I could name them to you right now, but I'm not going to embarrass the other ones. But stop. This immigration is killing Europe. And the other thing, stop the windmills, killing the beauty of your countries. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, so in terms of the immigration thing, he is absolutely 100% on the mark. What we're seeing in Europe is just mass, unvetted immigration from parts of the world, war-torn parts of the world with completely different cultures to us, with completely different religions to us, that really cannot live side by side in peace. It appears from what we're seeing, you're having people with no education, that just are incapable of functioning in the Western society, and they're just flowing into all the Western countries. And there's no checks, there's no control, there's nothing like that. And that's happening in all these rich Western countries. So France, the United Kingdom, Germany, Belgium, Netherlands, and now Ireland. Ireland's getting the speed run of this, where other countries have been going through this for a long period of time. It's been sped run in Ireland, and it's destroying the culture. It's increasing crime rates across the board. I mean, if you look at crime rates from the early 2000s and you compare them to the crime rate now, we're looking at surges that just make absolutely no sense. And the reason for it is obvious. We're seeing crimes that we used to never see in Europe happening, and the place is just becoming a dump overall. And I work with a lot of tourists, and I almost feel bad for these. You'll have Japanese tourists, you'll have American tourists who have genetic Irish heritage coming over to visit good old Ireland, and they probably expect to see this nice little country full of nice little Irish people, and they get here, and what do they get? And Ireland's not even the worst. Imagine going to Paris. Paris, the city of love, the city of trash and rats and riots every second day. So we're going to look at a few videos here to give you a picture of what we're dealing with. So this first video, this is actually quite an old video. As I said, I've been following this for a long time. So this could have been around 2015 that this video was shot. I remember this video. And this was in Sweden. Now, Sweden was the first to go down this road, and they went down it hard, heavy, and fast. And let's just watch this video. So we're in Sweden. When people think of Sweden, you think of hot Swedish women, nice peaceful society, nothing really going on, IKEA, happy days, snow. No, that's not what Sweden's like anymore, thanks to the immigration policies that Trump highlighted earlier. So let's have a look at this video. So we have a camera crew here.
Excuse me. No, no, please, please. No, no, we are leaving, but you don't need to hurt us. There's no need to be unkind. Hey, 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 stop. Don't do it. The gang's attention turns when a local intervenes, drives his mobility scooter into the most violent attack.
Jesus. Bro, that just goes to show it takes the older generation, the World War II generation, to come in on the fucking mobility scooter and save the day.
Into the most violent attack. We've been individual.
But this is what we're seeing. So this was early on, 2015-ish. I'm not sure. We can find the exact date of this video in Sweden. But this is a camera crew, obviously not hostile. You know, these are professional reporters, and they're just getting aggressively attacked. And just, you see the level of hostility, you see the level of aggression. This is not something that you're familiar with native Swedish people. You know, you don't walk down the street in Sweden with native Swedish people and just get attacked or deal with this level of aggression. But this is what we're dealing with. These people, they come into the country, they have no respect for the country. They see the people as weak because they see tolerance as a weakness, which, in my opinion, it is. Um, and they just think they can do whatever they want. And they attack this camera crew. And you see this white lady here. It just, where is she?
No need to be unkind. Hey, hey, hey.
So she's saying, oh, there's no need to be unkind. And this just shows the complete and absolute naivety, however you pronounce that word, of these Western people. As the Batman quote goes, victory has defeated us. We've had it too easy for too long. We're too used to living in these peaceful societies where we have normal people that don't act aggressively, that don't randomly attack in broad daylight. Um, and this woman and people like her think that they can reason with these people and say, oh, you know, don't act aggressively, don't do this. They don't care. They're not listening to you. They're going to do what they want. They see you as weak. They see your tolerance as weak. They're only going to respond to someone with strength that's actually going to lay down the hammer of the law and put a stop to this. They're not going to respond to your begging and your crying and all this bullshit. So that's in Sweden. Shout out to Radio Genoa. It's not his video, I don't think. But that's where I got it from, anyways. Here we're looking at the streets of Paris, I believe. Just absolute filth. Nobody gives a shit. The city of love, people. The city of trash. You couldn't pay me to go to Paris.
Hey, c'est quoi ça? Arrête.
So, in my opinion, that's a failed society. That literally looks like an apocalyptic society. And in a sense, it is an apocalyptic society because the people that made the country great, you know, they're in fewer and fewer numbers nowadays, either because they're just not having any children or because they're just moving away from these areas because they don't want to be around it. And now we're being left with these people who are just, they have no respect for the country. They can't integrate into society. They probably don't even like the society. They probably hate the French people. They see them as colonizers or this, that, and the other. And just no respect for the country and turning it into an absolute kip heap. And in both situations, this and this previous video, would you feel comfortable walking through this area as, you know, a native Swedish man or a native Irish man or native French man? You don't know what kind of people you're dealing with. You don't know what kind of a situation you're going to run into. So the fact that we're tolerating this is absolute insanity as far as I'm concerned. And then just to show you, This is what Paris was like in the 1970s. This is the Paris we know. We don't need the music. This is the Paris we know. This is the Paris we love. Peaceful, clean. I mean, it's full of French people, so they're probably still rude as fuck. But no violence. Just look how clean it is. Everything just everything just looks good. And I don't think that this is a misrepresentation. I don't think they're showing you the best of Paris here and the worst of Paris there. I think it just is it's a city and it's a country that just has declined drastically. Look how nice this is. Imagine you can just go to this country and now you're in Paris and you're surrounded by French people and French culture and you can walk down the streets and feel safe. I mean, it was a beautiful thing. It was a glorious thing. And really, that's something that has been taken from us. And we never really got to experience that. If you were in the 1970s, imagine you're an 18-year-old in the 1970s, especially without cell phones and internet and all this stuff. And you can just fly over to Paris and you're just in this amazing culture that's just completely unique. Everything is clean, everything's beautiful. But those days are gone, unfortunately. So we've looked at those. And then here we have, this is from Radio Genoa again. So this is scenes in Italy.
Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god. Cosa mi regala si
So again, we have people here. They look like these could be migrants. These could be people that crossed into Spain illegally, which is a popular thing to do. Or Italy. This is Italy actually, and yeah, it is Italy that a lot of them come to from Libya, and just running around with machetes. And if this was a once-off incident, that might be one thing, but we're seeing this every single day across all these different European cities. People running around with machetes, people attacking each other, things that were unheard of in Europe in the past. And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. If you think that this problem resolves itself, you are strongly delusional, my friend. The way that this is headed, with the demographic shifts, the people that are being brought into the country, our weak leadership, a lack of policing and control and things done to stop this. If it continues along this way uninterrupted, you're headed for a South Africa type situation where the streets are just literally just too dangerous to even walk on. You can't even stop your car at a traffic light at night because you're risking getting robbed, getting attacked with machetes, all these atrocious things. And then finally here from Naomi Scheibt. So this was an Austrian remigration protest. So So you're seeing these protests all across Europe now, and they're basically shouting re-immigration, remigration, remigration. Um, so there is pushback against what we're seeing. People are fed up. People have had enough. We can't afford housing. That's a large degree down to immigration. Leftists, they'll try to obfuscate it. Then they'll say things like, "Oh, it's the vulture funds. It's these companies buying up all the houses. This, that, and the other." At the end of the day, it's very simple. If you have more and more people coming into your country, those people have to live somewhere. They're taking up houses. That's one of the factors that's increasing the house prices. Obviously, inflation is another thing. That's to do with the money system being completely corrupt and um, just illegitimate as far as I'm concerned. Um, but then just the crime, the breakdown of our cultures, of our heritage. We're sick of it. Europeans are sick of it. Why should we have to deal with situations like these camera crew where you're being attacked for recording, or this filth in Paris, or these machete attacks in Spain? And bear in mind, this is just what I saw today. 10 minutes of scrolling on X, and big up Elon Musk as well. A lot of my friends don't like him. They think he's like this Lex Luthor type character. But ultimately, I've been aware of these issues for a long time, but the general public haven't. And it's thanks to him buying Twitter, now known as X, and opening it up to free speech that now we're seeing these issues. And what Trump was talking about, it's 100% true. If something isn't done to get this under control, where we have, first of all, a complete stop to migrants flowing into our country, or into our continent, into our countries and into our continent. And then criminals need to be sent out immediately. And there needs to be, the hammer of the law needs to be brought down, because right now it's an absolute joke. And you have to ask yourself, why is this happening? Now, this UN report, this might give you some insight into why this is happening, and it's about replacement migration. And basically, the thesis of this paper is that uh, I think they list 9 countries in this paper. At this stage, it's every single European country. In fact, it's probably every Western country is below replacement birth rate. So basically, we're not having enough children to replace our population. And this is a particularly big issue for Europe because we have such a burdensome social system, retirements, social welfare, all these different payments. And someone has to fund them. Now, if you have a shrinking population, then you end up with a top heavy society where you have this large old society all retiring, requiring pension, and all these different things. And you have a very small, productive class of the society that can actually fund all these different things. So, this was proposed as a solution again. This is from the 2000s. This was proposed in 2000. So this has obviously been something they've been aware of for a long time. But even this acknowledges that migration ultimately does not solve the problem. And it doesn't even delve into the fact of the increases in crime that we're seeing, the destruction of our culture, um, the inflation of housing prices, all these different factors. Um, it doesn't even take that into consideration. And also, it looks at us almost like, numbers on a screen. Like, oh, we don't have enough people in X place. We can just move people from Y here. And, you know, I think most people don't agree with that. Most people like the idea. We like this. And I'm not even a big Paris fan, but we like this. We like, you fly to Paris, you're in French culture, you're around French people. It's safe, it's clean, it's nice. Same thing. You go to Munich, you're around Germans, German culture, bratwurst, beer, all that nice stuff. Clean, safe, happy people, good times. And that's the way it was in every major city in Europe around the 1970s. You could go to London, you could go to Paris, you could go to Munich, Berlin. Well, Berlin maybe not because it was under the Iron Curtain. But Netherlands, you could go to Holland, And it's the same country. You could go to, what's the capital of the Netherlands? Oh, whatever it is. Can't remember now. Amsterdam, fucking hell, Jesus. Obviously, Amsterdam. And, you're experiencing unique cultures, unique people, but it's safe, it's clean, everything's running well, everything's nice. Nowadays, if you were to go like backpacking across Europe, I wouldn't even do it because if you're unfamiliar with the area, you might walk down the wrong street. And back in the 1970s in any of these cities, you walk down the wrong street, it's not really a big issue. You're not really going to have any problems. You walk down the wrong street in any of these countries nowadays, you could end up stabbed, you could end up robbed, you could end up attacked, so Europe is just becoming a completely unsafe place, and our cultures are being destroyed. And Big Donald is the only one who has the balls to step up and say it, you know? So big ups, Donald, and big ups these protesters. We need to see more of this across the board. And if our political system isn't completely corrupt, we need to see action taken. But it's really going to require strong leadership, and it's not going to be pretty.